Autism and executive dysfunction. Are you autistic, or perhaps do you know someone that's on the spectrum? They're telling you about their tiredness and lack of cognitive function, or basically coming out with, I am experiencing executive dysfunction and not know what it means? Well, let me explain it for you right here in this video. Before I explain, please subscribe to my channel so that I can be sure that my content is reliable and useful. It only takes a second, it's absolutely free, and it would literally mean the world to me. Firstly, hello, my name is Will Venus and this is my autistic YouTube channel. And I say autistic YouTube channel because I've got 3 channels. The other 2 will be linked below if you want to check them out, because I am multifaceted. So I was diagnosed as autistic late last year, and I've been exploring what autism means both to me and for other people. So I feel that this video could be of use to yourself or a friend, family member, chosen family member who is autistic, and you're looking for some information of what that means to them or what it could mean to them. So I've produced this video because I don't believe that there's a great deal of resources out there for, especially for autistic adults, to access. And of course there is lots of reading material out there, but if you're someone like me, I prefer to watch someone talking about it rather than read, because reading takes a whole lot of concentration that I sometimes just do not have, so I would rather listen to someone face to face. I mean, with regards to the research, there wasn't a lot that I could find, not as detailed as I want, but anyway, getting on with this video. I think it's going to be one of my slightly longer uploads, so if you want to go grab a drink, some snacks, find a comfy seat and just sit back and chillax. We really need to keep hydrated because it is the summer months and oh my goodness, it's warm. So yeah, we need to keep our fluids up. Okay, so firstly let's take a look at what executive function is, and then explore a bit about how executive dysfunction can affect autistic people. Just a quick note, executive dysfunction is not exclusive to autism, and I am not a neurodiverse expert. I'm just someone that lives a full life as an autistic individual with some life experience. Executive functioning, it's like a set of skills and processes that a human being needs to help us carry out our day-to-day activities. So things such as planning, problem solving, working memory, attention to detail, reasoning, initiation, inhibition, cognitive flexibility, and monitoring. So for each of these processes, sorry, allergies, it's that time of year, hay fever, but anyway. So for each of these processes, people who are on the spectrum will have this certain bank of reserves, and each time we use these to different intensities, that reserve is used up. So when you're autistic, and this is just speaking generally, because I cannot stress this enough, every single autistic person is widely different from the next person who's autistic. So yeah, I'm just generalizing here. So for each autistic individual, so when you're autistic, talking generally, I mean every single autistic person is completely different to the next one. All of the above functions that I've just listed, they can take up to twice as much energy compared to a neurotypical person. A neurotypical person is someone who is not autistic or has any other neurodiversities. Up to 80% of individuals have executive dysfunction. So if I could now give you an example, for instance, in my case, planning and eventually carrying out a task I find really intimidating. I mean, for instance, something such as this video, yeah? I've been planning it for months and I just kept putting it off and off and off because I know that there's so many steps to it, and I just find that completely overwhelming. And then when I try to break down the steps into smaller chunks, I'm left exhausted because there's even more steps to take, if you know what I mean, in order to complete it. So even before even seeing me on camera, I know that there's going to be a lot of research to be done. Then you set up the camera, script it, film it, edit it, post it. So you're probably sat there thinking, well, if it's so overwhelming for you, Will, why are you a YouTuber? Which is a fair question. And the answer is very simple. I have a passion to share something and I won't be stopped. But that's just for me. I have this sheer determination running through my veins. And I want to be that voice for people who feel they don't have their own, or feel like they can't use their own voice. Or if I could perhaps give you like an analogy, okay? Planning all that is a bit like opening a door, and then all you need to do to execute said plan is just to open the door, get to the other side, and that's it done, yeah? But with me and the executive dysfunction, in my experience, I open the door and there's like this huge massive things to go over, and sometimes I think I can't climb that, and then the plan just gets abandoned. So with the executive dysfunction, let's break it down into some key aspects. So firstly, communication. When you're speaking with someone, you need to retain a certain amount of short-term information in order to communicate with someone else. With autism in the mix, we need to at times work twice as hard to keep that conversation going, because we're worried about what if there's a lull in the conversation and I've got to remember all this information, I've got to get that out of my mouth, I've got all that kind of thing. And it's also a well-known fact that some autistic people have just general difficulties in communicating. I certainly have, although you wouldn't necessarily believe it, because I'm able to do this, I'm able to talk with friends and family, but that takes a lot of work for me. It's a lot of taxation on my energy reserves, yeah, when compared with the average neurotypical person, shall we say. And as I'm speaking to you, I can feel very warm because my brain and my body is trying to work twice as hard to get this information to you so that you can receive it in a cohesive manner. Planning. Some people on the spectrum struggle with planning. This is me. Or perhaps managing how a plan is made. I mean, the enthusiasm is definitely there, yet it can be very overwhelming. Again, me. Daily tasks. Again, you need working memory for this. I mean, I've got a fantastic memory for things like facts and figures, dates and times, but relying on myself to do day-to-day activities can be really challenging. Especially when you're a person who's of a nervous disposition. Me. You're worried about maybe doing things wrong, or when you do something and it turns out wrong, you think, well, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done it, I can't do it. Get really frustrated with yourself, you know. Impulse control, so controlling your impulses, of course. For instance, when I know that I need to work on a wig, I'm a wig maker. Hi, check out the channel I've got for that in the description. Thanks. It takes literally all of my being to sit and focus on this thing, rather than focus on what else could I be doing? What could I be looking at? What could I be listening to? What could I be trying out that's not what I'm doing right in the here and now, you know? So things like verbal reasoning now, like struggling with verbal commands. Some autistics can misinterpret commands or take things quite literally, or perhaps not know what to do with those verbal commands. And attention, like I just kind of touched on a moment ago, being able to concentrate on the job that's in hand right in the here and now. Because generally our autistic brains are constantly on the go, it's quite difficult to do that. It's quite difficult to concentrate on just the one thing. Myself personally, I'm always seeking for that constant brain stimulation, and other things can distract me, like, you know, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch. So being autistic means that these skills are impaired because it takes a lot of exhaustive energy to make up for the deficit we don't have. Depending on who you ask or what their bias is, there are some other factors when it comes to executive dysfunction. But these ones that I've just mentioned, these are the ones that are the most common problems when it comes to executive function and autism. So now that we've discussed some of the key aspects of executive function, executive dysfunction, what can we as autistic or neurodiverse people do to help this? What can we do or suggest with others that struggle with this kind of thing? So I thought I would share some research with you and some more personal tips of my own that help me on a daily basis to help cope with life in general when you're someone that's got exec dysfunction. And again, every single person on the spectrum is different. They have different needs, they have different wants, they have different goals. It's not a universal fit. And if you have any tips, please leave them in the comments. I would love nothing more than that. And of course, I have to be honest, because what's the point in being dishonest? I don't know a lot of information about people on the spectrum who are non-verbal, so I wouldn't want to insult your being by suggesting things, because I could get it completely wrong and that could be really dangerous, so I'm not able to cover that. Although if you're able to cover it, let me know in the comments, that would be great. Or if you have any other sources of information and you want me to make a video about non-verbal autistic people, let me know as well. So if you're planning something, things like visual aids, they could be of use. So like making post-it notes around the house or your office or cue cards and things. I had a quick break there because my executive function levels were beginning to get a little bit low, and the neighbours were shouting. Don't know what they were shouting about. Don't know if it was about me, because they can hear me. But if I sound different, that's why. So breaking things down into manageable steps, which won't overwhelm you. To-do lists, again, I'm a fan. Just keep it within your limits. And if you're an employer or an employee, just have that conversation about what you need. And also, employers, don't presume that because what you've heard, it will fit every autistic person. It won't. As I say, every single autistic person is different. I feel really passionate about that because there isn't a lot of awareness and acceptance when it comes to autistic people in employment. There's not a lot of training within human resources, and it's a very generalised system, and one size does definitely not fit all. I mean, with regards to employment, if you're able to offer your employee like reasonable adjustment, that will be less of a strain on their executive function. So perhaps like a quieter space in the office, somewhere that's a little bit more dimly lit, somewhere a bit more quiet, or lowering the volume of music if you have music within your work. It all helps massively. And if I can think of any more tips, I will pin them in the comments, so look out for those. And you can leave yours too, of course. Now for some tips and hacks that work for me personally. I keep the conversation extremely open and very honest. If I feel my exec functions levels are low, I will vocalise this, I will let it be known. And know your limit. If your levels are low, you could maybe put off that extra task that you've had planned for a while. I mean, within reason. I mean, don't abandon the plan if it's dangerous or in anything pertaining to your health. This next tip, and I realise people will be sat there saying, really? No shit, Will, why didn't I think of that? I'm being sarcastic. But I have to say it, and it's just be kind to yourself. Please, it's absolutely normal. It's fine if you're having just one of those days. And if you're not able to do something, just don't do it. Nothing is that important. I mean, what could be more important than your physical, spiritual, and mental health? Nothing. Make sure the people around you know your limits. That's a really important one as well. I say this because there's just some people in the world who just do not get it. Make sure they people know your limits and your boundaries, and just ask those people to take a wee bit of time out of their day just to have that adult chat. Yeah. If you're met with adversity or someone wants to debate what you're telling them, always remember that is on them. You've got nothing to prove. You are the one with the information to tell. It's up to the other person to decide what they do with that information, whether or not the other person wants to engage with you in said info. And also, if you're met with a negative reaction or response, try not to take it personally, which I know can be really difficult because autistic people were really sensitive at times. Yeah, just try not to take it so personally, which I know is really difficult because we can be really sensitive to our experiences and surroundings, I know. And finally, and arguably the most important bit, there is nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely fine. You're perfect the way you are. We're all perfectly imperfect. The problem is that this world is built for neurotypicals, not neurodiverse. It's the world around us with the problem, not you. Well, I genuinely hope that this video is able to help someone understand what executive function and dysfunction means. I really believe that by sharing this kind of information we can change the world a little bit more to be a bit more understanding for what it means to be autistic. If you've got to this part of the video and you found any of it interesting or informative, please hit the like button. That would really help out my channel. Smash the like button. It really would be deeply appreciated. Leave a comment, keep it kind, keep it constructive, and since you're subscribing, hopefully, don't forget to hit the notification bell and set it to all so that you get a gentle nudge from YouTube every time I upload brand new content. Share this video with someone if you feel it'll be beneficial. And that is all for me for this week, folks. Take good care of yourselves, keep shining, and I will see you the same time, same place next week. All going well. Bye. Time for me to switch off.